Let's get it going on Locked On Thunder Live. It's the show in addition to the show inside the show. This is Locked On Thunder, Monday through Friday, and after every single game, we're here for you talking Thunder basketball. And now, Mondays and Thursdays, 2 p.m. Central Time, we're here talking Thunder basketball with Derek Parker. I'm Rylan Stiles. Derek, it's here. This is going to be the final week without regular season basketball, the last week of preseason. How are you feeling with the light at the end of the tunnel?
I'm not going towards the light, dude. I want more preseason. Give me more preseason. This is where we get to see the real sicko prospects, man. We get to see Johnny Furphy play 48 minutes a night. Keep me in the preseason. I don't want the regular season.
You might be the first person in the history of basketball to say that you want more preseason basketball, but it makes sense. You're the draft guy. Find Derek on Twitter at Twitter @DParkerOK, on YouTube Derek-Parker, to hear all about the NBA draft, as he has great series up on last year's draft prospects and also going to start diving into this year's draft prospects. You can find both of us at OKC Dream Team as well. Derek, today's show, it really starts our preview coverage. We're on next Monday. We're going to go through the entire standings and who's going to win every award, and we're going to be 100% accurate and 100% right. On Thursday's show at 2 p.m. Central here on Locked On Thunder, we're going to dive into the biggest storylines to watch, not only for your Thunder, but for the rest of the NBA. So we're going to have you covered to start this NBA season. The Thunder still have 2 preseason games left against Milwaukee tomorrow on Peacock and Friday against Denver. We'll see how much the regulars get to play. So far, we've only really seen the regulars play one time against the Charlotte Hornets at home last Thursday. But Derek, in the preseason, the injuries have started to pile up a little bit. Now, AJ Mitchell had an ankle issue in Saturday's game against Indiana. Isaiah Joe knocked knees Saturday in Indiana. Kenrich Williams, before the season began, had a knee scope that takes him out until November. Nikola Topic, after the first preseason game, had a testicular procedure that takes him out until November. Thomas Swarber tore his ACL before training camp began. He's out for the whole season. J-Dub still recovering from that wrist injury. And then there's also some just general soreness. Chet Holmgren is sore. Brendan Carlson's sore. Not too much to expect there. The only people who are for sure out opening night as of today is Kenrich and Topic. Are there any concerns for you regarding these injuries?
You asked me a question. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but on the last live that was, what is standing in the way of the Thunder repeating? And my absolute number one answer was health. I think it's absolutely the most pivotal and crucial thing this Thunder team can do is to avoid injury concern this upcoming season. Because if they do, I think they're, again, outright the best team in the NBA. I think their defense continues to be all world, all time, really. And I think, as we've talked about several times on here, the offense is already good, and it can stand to get a lot better with the raised ceiling of Chet Holmgren, with guys like Kaysen and Topic and AJ coming around. The only thing standing in the way is health. And honestly, all of these injuries that you've mentioned are a little bit concerning, but not quite what I was talking about. Like, I think the Thunder have done such a great job at shoring up their roster, really rounding out their depth, which not a lot of the NBA teams presently have. And I think they can weather some of these kind of ticky-tack storms. Like, even with all of the stuff you listed, they're still going to be a pretty dang good basketball team, as we've seen. Like, they've had stretches in preseason where they've played their guys and where youngsters have stepped up, and they've looked like pretty much a still 50-pace win team. The stuff I was more referencing is major injury to the core 3, major injury to their, like, kind of like plus depth, like Caruso, Kaysen, Hartenstein, like big pieces. So it's a little concerning to see this many this early, but at the same time, none of this is like earth-shattering, season-changing stuff. Like, this is able to be weathered. So that's kind of where I'm at with it right now.
Look, this is a long season. I mean, we got to get through 82 games in the regular season, and they're playing 6 preseason games. And let's start with the preseason. With these injuries piling up, Saturday brought to the discourse of should the Thunder be playing 6 preseason games? These injuries could have happened in practice, and some of them did happen in practice. So it's like, it doesn't really matter to me. These are all basketball-related injuries that can happen whether you're playing pickup at the Hive like we do on Fridays or if you're playing in the NBA. And there's just no need to be concerned until it's time to be concerned. Like, the worry over this stuff is not going to do anyone any good. And if you really look at it right now, again, the only guys who are for sure out opening night is Kinrich and Topic. Let's be honest. Those guys do not move the needle for this team. Those guys do not have a for sure role with this team. Those guys were going to always be in and out of the rotation just naturally, even if they were healthy for this team. So there's no really concern for me with the injuries as of now. We'll see if this continues to be a trend for them throughout the season. But as of right now, no real concern on the injury front for Oklahoma City. But on today's show, we're going to dive into Stock Watch. If you're familiar with Locked On Thunder, you know that throughout the season, we have different benchmarks where we buy and sell stock in every Thunder player. On this edition, we're going to go buying stock in 5 things, NBA and Thunder, and then sell stock on 5 things, NBA and Thunder. And Derek, your number one buy has already been a topic of discussion among the chatters. The coaches in the seats here have already talked about Brooks Barnhizer. Why are you buying in on Brooks Barnhizer?
Yeah, we've already got some comments from Karam Curtis hyping up Mr. Brooksy Barnhizer, as you would so eloquently call him. He's been awesome through preseason. I think defensively, he's held up as everybody anticipated. He is lengthy. He plays with IQ. He plays with force, as Mark Daignault would say. He plays with physicality. He's quite simply just blended in on that end of the court in the best possible way to, as we've already touched on, a pretty all-time defense. Like even when they were playing the ones, he didn't necessarily stand out for the wrong reasons. I thought, as again, Mark Daignault would say, and as you would say, Rizzy, he moved the scoreboard in the right direction. And then the reason I'm buying this stock, like I was already fine with the Barnhizer pick. I thought it was a solid gamble in the second round. The reason I'm upping the ante here and I'm putting even more of my personal money into it is the offense. I think offensively, those were obviously the biggest question marks. He wasn't necessarily efficient even at the college level. I think there were questions about what is his role going to be in the NBA? How is he going to find ways to be impactful on that end of the ball at all? And I think he's starting to kind of carve that out as early as the preseason in the fact that he's getting out in transition. He's cutting with a timeliness that is going to allow playmakers to find him. He's getting to the line a bunch. I didn't get to watch the last preseason game as closely as I wanted, but I believe he shot 18 free throws across his first 3 games, which is a whole lot and just points to his physicality. So if he's already carving out that offensive niche, and he shot the ball better than expected, that's not a necessarily high point for him, but he's hitting threes for better or worse. So defensively, we know what he is. We know what he's going to add. I think he's going to play in this Thunder rotation just via Mark Daignault's kind of deeper bag that he gets into. And then offensively, if he's already carving out that role, what else is there to really talk about with Brooks Barnhizer in terms of being a really solid contributor for this Thunder team? So I'm buying the stock, Riz.
I like that you're buying stock in Brooks Barnhizer. I, too, am buying stock in Brooks Barnhizer. And a lot of it is what you already said there. He's without question a Thunder player. He's without question a high-end defender. And if he wasn't on a team that had an abundance of defenders, he would be looked at even more favorably on that end of the floor. It's like his ranking on this Thunder roster is low in terms of how good he is defensively. But if you plop him in on almost any other team in the NBA, he would be in their top 3 of defenders on each roster and closer to 1 on most rosters than not. And that helps him in a big way as a rookie if you can defend and not be a negative on that end of the floor. Offensively, there's limitations there. Like the hitch in his jump shot is not aesthetically pleasing. And I think he needs to get better as a cutter to be able to work within this system. And it's harder to cut whenever guys are sacking off you and not respecting your 3-point shot. But he is a good connective passer. He makes really good reads and decisions. And the 3-point shot, for as ugly as it looks, he is willing to just launch them when it's appropriate. He doesn't try to do too much offensively, but he also doesn't try to shy away defensively because he knows that that's a limitation. If he gets the ball and he has an open shot, he's going to take it. And sometimes you'll run into a 2-for-2 night from 3, and that's a huge win for them. Sometimes you'll go 0 for 3 and hope that Isaiah Hartenstein or whomever's out there on the floor gets the rebound and can reset the possession. So he does enough to play. He does enough, I think, to earn the trust of Mark. And I think that he's going to play a big role for this team as far as two-way guys go. If you're measuring him against other two-ways, he'll play what is considered a big role. And I think that he'll be a guy who plays so well in the first half of the season that you're going to want to convert him to a standard contract right away and just have another option to provide you juice, provide you intensity for the stretch run of the season, and even in certain playoff matchups, to where I just think that he's going to beat out a guy like Ousmane Dieng and a guy that you can move on from to open up a roster spot come the trade deadline. So I really like Brooks Barnhizer in his current role, and I like forecasting what he can be in the future. So Brooks Barnhizer, more than worth buying stock into.
Can I hit you with a stat real quick?
DP stats, let's do it.
This is no deep dive here, but on 1.8 attempts across 4 games, Brooks Barnhizer is shooting 57% from 3. And again, it's not high volume. He's probably getting opportunities that he wouldn't be getting in the regular season in terms of a little bit of the shot selection. You know, he's been closing some games with the other reserves, but 57% is nothing to scoff at. Obviously, that won't hold up, but it's showing that he at least has confidence in that shot. He at least isn't shying away from taking threes. So interesting development there. And then 11.8 points per game is pretty freaking good for the Thunder's second round pick here.
Pretty good. There's a reason why he was tabbed by the NBA GMs as a steal of the draft, and the steal of the draft in the NBA GM survey. A touch misleading in the sense of it does knock out half the class. Like Cooper Flag's not a steal. The top of the roster, the top of the draft class guys are not steals. And there's also a little bit of reputation built in of like if the Thunder draft somebody in the second round, given their history, you feel really good. Speaking about the second round and the Thunder, I have to buy stock, number one, first and foremost, into AJ Mitchell. I've been out here beating the drum for AJ Mitchell. I've been out here predicting he'll be in the top 8 of this rotation by the end of the season and into the most important games of the postseason. He's another guy that had quickly earned trust from Mark. This time last year, we still wondered, similarly to Brooks, like, we like him. What's his role? And from night one, he was in this rotation up until the turf toe injury for AJ Mitchell. You saw him debut against Indiana. And even though he left a tad early with the ankle stuff, I don't consider that to be a massive deal in the grand scheme of an 82-game season. AJ Mitchell, explosive downhill, getting to the free throw line, finishing at the rim. I really trust his three-point shot on the volume he's going to get and the quality of shots he's going to get, especially playing off the ball. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He can play make. He can keep this offense in rhythm. He can be the straw that stirs the drink of the secondary unit and keep that scoreboard moving in the right direction. And Mark has praised his defense. I thought he was a better defender last year than he got credit for. Mark believes he can be a plus defender for this team in the near future. I think you're going to see that this season. So AJ Mitchell, I'm buying all the stock I can possibly get on AJ Mitchell here in the preseason before it's too late and his stock becomes so expensive that you can't jump into it.
Yeah, I'd be right there with you. I had to rewatch the last preseason game, and having looked at the box score before, I was most curious to see how AJ Mitchell got to his stat line, which I think was somewhere in the realm of 14 points, 6 of 8 shooting, something like that. And he looked pretty dang good. As you said, explosive, getting downhill. His handle is compact. He can go point A to point B really, really quickly. I talk about it all the time. He's just a fireball with the ball in hand, really with the ball out of his hands as well, in cutting, getting out in transition. He just moves so quickly. The passing isn't like at a Topic level, but it's certainly good enough to where he could command a backup unit. And then defensively is still maybe one of the more impressive aspects to his game in terms of just kind of creating havoc where he can wreak it. You know, like, he's not a huge guy, but he puts himself in the right positions. He's handsy. He just does a lot of different things, keeps that scoreboard moving in the right direction for the Thunder. And I'd be right there with you buying stock on AJ Mitchell because I think he's going to cement his place in this Thunder rotation pretty quickly.
Can we talk about why you had to rewatch the game and couldn't watch it live? It was a fall wedding, and you were the third person in my life who had a fall wedding to go to on Saturday of OU Texas. You didn't miss much of the Red River shootout there. It was kind of a nothing burger for OU in the second half. Are you in or out on fall weddings? Is fall weddings, especially in this state that loves football, is that a technical foul? Is that our first technical foul of the day?
This is a horrible take for Oklahoma. I'm not out on fall weddings. Okay. I mean, it's a beautiful time of the year. You know, I've gone to 2 weddings on OU Texas Day, and both were able to whisk me away from a devastating Sooners loss. The other one being the time they got shut out a few years ago. So I'm not out. You can rewatch the game later. Celebrate life with your loved ones, dude.
I'm with you. As I've gotten older, I've become more of non-anti-fall weddings outright. I do think you got to pick your spots though. Like you cannot have a fall wedding on OU Texas. You can have a fall wedding on the third Saturday of October, which is coming up here with Tennessee taking on Alabama. But when OU takes on Kent State or whatever, that's when you have your fall wedding, and that's whenever you get it out of the way. Especially here, the fall, there is no fall weather here, so you're basically having a summer wedding in terms of atmosphere. Go ahead and have it whenever you want. But I would encourage those to plan ahead and avoid the OU Texas rivalry and big games like that. But in general, as much as I love college football, there's a lot of Saturdays where you wouldn't miss much if you had to go to a wedding, like you said, to celebrate friends and family. I don't know if I'm going to be on your wedding invite list, but we'll see if you have a fall wedding. I'll tell you this: if it's on Tennessee Bama Saturday, I'm not going to go. I'll send my love from afar. I'm just kidding. I would still go.
You've already doxed our Hive runs. Are you going to dox my wedding now too? What are we doing?
Well, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. I wouldn't do that to you.
I think what is early September fall?
Sure. I mean, I consider fall football season because we don't have a true fall in Oklahoma. Whenever football's here, it's the fall. And so, pick your spots. Pick your spots very carefully, Derek.
Well, the date is set. So it is per Rylan Rizzy style standards, a fall wedding.
You got to stop that. Okay. Well, we have the Tennessee schedule in hand. You send me over the date. I'll see if I can make it. I'll make it, of course. Derek, let's talk more buying and selling stock. You have a very interesting one that I think could be your best value buy. It also could come back to bite you, and you're stuck holding this stock for a long time.
Yeah, my next one is the Thunder offense, which, as you said, has probably lowest floor, highest ceiling of any stock buying here. I'm buying into the Thunder offense, and it's not necessarily anything they've shown in preseason because I think they just haven't shown enough with the ones to really warrant, are they going to take a leap offensively? Chet Holmgren hasn't even played, and that's probably the biggest factor here. But when I look through this roster and I look at just the players that I think can get better and the ways they can do it, the ways they can gel, I think I'm in on Thunder O getting better. And they had a great one in the regular season last year. They were top 5 in all kinds of metrics. That's what propelled the amount of wins that they had and somewhat carried over into the postseason. Obviously, the offense wasn't as good there, but I think next season I would not only expect it to get better during the regular season, but I think I'm going to expect it to carry into the postseason. I think that Jalen Williams, J-Dub, is a player that can continue to get better after a breakout postseason coming off the wrist injury. Chet Holmgren, as we've talked about many a time, has as much to gain as any player on this Thunder roster in terms of reaching his potential. Cason Wallace right there behind him in terms of being able to add offense. Aaron Wiggins can stand to shine a little bit more. You're folding in fun wrinkles like AJ Mitchell, Nikola Topic. Isaiah Joe can get better at three-point shooting. Jay Will has slimmed down and seems to be really slinging that thing with confidence. So I just think this Thunder offense stands to gain a lot, and I think they will, honestly.
The reason that I, as your Wolf of Wall Street, would still encourage you to buy this stock is because of my next stock I'm buying, and that's Chet Holmgren. And Chet Holmgren's stock can only ascend offensively because defensively, he's already a top 3 and he plays a position of value as a top 3 defender in this league. Chet Holmgren does to not really need to ascend defensively. Offensively, got to shoot the ball better from 3. And that opens things up for him to get downhill, to get to the rim, to finish, get to the free throw line. And it opens him up to be able to bend the defense and take one, guys trying to fly him off move him off the line, run him off the line. He takes one dribble in, hits a mid-range jumper, takes 2 dribbles, gets to the cup for a finish, or takes that one dribble in, someone rotates over, makes the right read, makes the right pass, and gets an easy shot for the Thunder. I think that he is in large part how this Thunder offense can get better, how he can complement and have a 2-for-1 special, helping your stock, helping my stock in Chet. I think that Chet Holmgren right now, you look at all these lists, we did one at Locked On Network where he's a top 30 player. He's number 30 for us. I think that you can look at that list next season and he'll be a top 25 player. The Thunder will have 3 top 25 guys on this team, if not higher than that. And so I think that Chet's ascension is what allows me to buy stock, and the way he's being talked about, like his mentality, his work ethic, and the way that this team is talking about him makes me fully believe in Chet Holmgren. Plus what we already know about him and what he's already kind of proven at times in the NBA that he's capable of doing. I think that he'll do that with more consistency, this season. I think he'll be an all-star. I think he'll make a run for all NBA. I think he'll for sure be an all defensive team player for this team. So I have Chet Holmgren buying stock into him, and that will help your stock of the offense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as I've said, we've talked about Chet so much, and unfortunately, we just haven't seen him yet in this preseason. But the sky's the limit. I mean, he's 7 foot. He can function on the perimeter inside. He can handle the ball. Seems to be improving in that area. The thing that kind of tips me off, and I've covered this Daignault-led Thunder team for a while now, but the way that Coach Mark talks about him sometimes is just, I don't know. You can tell there's something a little different with the praise that Mark Daignault gives to Chet Holmgren opposed to others, like in terms of like, this guy could really, really have it. Like, I think last year, maybe this offseason sometime, he was like, this is the lowest we're ever going to see Chet Holmgren. And that's already like a top 30 player, as you've touched on. And then a few weeks ago, we asked like what he's looked like in practice, and he says, pretty dang good. Like he leaves it short to the point where it's open for interpretation of like, is this guy doing superstar stuff behind the door? So I'm excited. I just want to see him on court at this point. I don't know what else we can even say to prepare people for Chet Holmgren.
I agree. And coaches, keep your comments coming in the chat. We'll answer a lot of them after we're done buying and selling stock. So that'll come later on. But we're moving on from beyond just the Thunder. Who are you buying stock into, Derek, in the NBA at large?
So this is a player that I've had stock in for a while now. Dating back to my time covering the 2024 NBA draft class, Modest Bazelis of the Chicago Bulls. He's a 6'9" wing/forward. I believe he was drafted at number 11. Didn't play a lot early in his rookie season, but came in late, really boosted those numbers and looked like one of the best players in the class. And now through a few preseason games, Modest Bazelis is looking like a potential future star for Chicago. And I think I already had a bunch of stock in him. I'm inclined to put even more stock into that because I think he's already scored 19 twice in 3 games. His shot looks as good as it was advertised prior to his up and down kind of shaky season with the G League Ignite. Pretty versatile on defense, really good mover. He can block shots, even though he's essentially kind of a spindly forward. Really nice athleticism. Players like Josh Giddey, Kobe White are going to be able to get him the ball quite a bit. And I think Modest Bazelis being the first pick of that essential Chicago Bulls rebuild is a really good one. So I'm interested to continue watching him thrive. Really, really fun player.
I'm going to go out east as well, and I'm buying stock into this Washington Wizards young core. A lot of Thunder influence on that front office. They have Will Dawkins, they have Mike, and so this team is being built through the draft. They have a patient approach to it, but I like Alex Sarr. I love Trey Johnson, a guy that you love as well. But like Lubale, I've cooled on him a little bit, but in the scheme of how I expect Bub Carrington to take a step, I like the flyer on Cam Whitmore, just like I like the flyer on A.J. Johnson that they had. But I love Keyshawn George's defensive ability. And so with all these young pieces, are they going to win games this season? No. But they're going to set themselves up to draft another great young player in this upcoming draft, which is loaded with talent. And if they get lottery luck, which they haven't really gotten yet, if they get lottery luck in a better draft class than the worst draft class of all time in the 2024 draft, then they're going to be able to add a missing piece to this team and to what this team is going to be able to accomplish. So for that reason, I'm in on this Washington Wizards young core. How are you feeling as the draft guy? Because I fall in love with Bub Carrington's archetype. I fall in love with Keyshawn George's ability defensively. Where are you at on Washington?
I think Washington has made the right pick so far. It just kind of hasn't turned like tangibly into wins, nor should it. Like the players they're gambling on are pretty developmental picks. Like no one really had Bub Carrington being a lottery pick. Washington gambles there. A lot of people had Alex Sarr as the best prospect in the class, but certainly not a sure thing. The 2024 draft class was, to put it nicely, one of the lesser ones we've seen in some time. So like even the number 2 pick there wasn't ever going to just come out guns a-blazing. So his kind of down rookie season from maybe even a defensive standpoint for his standards, and then shooting the ball certainly wasn't out of the ordinary for me. So I think they've, again, made the right picks. Really like Coulibaly, really like Sarr, really like Trey Johnson, iffy on Carrington, but I think they're moving in the right direction. And I think if they get a top pick this upcoming year, then you'll kind of finally see that ball start to roll, similar to what Detroit has started to do, where they made all these picks, They saw like an all-time bad season, but they quickly put things together. Like when you just draft that amount of talent, eventually things will start to work out. We saw that with the Rockets. You know, they had 3 of the worst seasons for a team that we've seen. They just accumulated so much talent, and now they're looked at as a contender. It happened for the Magic. You know, the Magic were right there. They were getting lottery picks every single year, and then all of a sudden they're an East contender this year. So eventually Washington will turn it around. I think they've made the right selections. I really trust Will Dawkins as well. So like what Washington is doing.
For as bad as the East is, Derek, we have one more stock that we're buying in that Eastern Conference, and it comes courtesy of DP.
I was going to say, you're saying we like you're not about to tee me up.
It's a collective we. We're a team here at Locked On Thunder Podcast Live.
Our money pool is working out of the same thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we have one bank. It's like a Monopoly's bank. Monopoly. What an overrated game, by the way. Technical file of Monopoly takes way too long. I like Monopoly Go. No plug. No shameless plug here. I like Monopoly Go on the
These
phone.
Are bad takes. These are bad takes.
Monopoly Go on the phone is a lot of fun, but Monopoly in person, no one knows when the game ends. Nobody finishes a game of Monopoly. I'd much rather play.
Wild. I finish every game of Monopoly. Dude.
That's psycho behavior to finish games of Monopoly. Those things are a marathon long. I like a Sorry. I like a Candyland. I like a Who Done It. What's that one called? Clue. I like card games. I like Uno. I'd throw you under the table and Uno.
You just need Subway Surfers to be playing the whole time you're playing board games. I think your attention span just can't.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not a mature enough mind to handle Monopoly. I'm not a math guy. I don't like doing the math of Monopoly with the finances and all. I'm not a Monopoly guy, but for the sake of argument, we are together on this. We're a reflection of one another and who we're buying and selling stock into.
Anyway, after those just atrocious takes, I had to tee you up for that one. I'm not gonna. We're sticking with the East. The Toronto Raptors.
You dying on the hill of Monopoly is just insane to me. It's a bottom 5 board game.
We're moving on. I'm going Toronto Raptors. Now, I don't often take a ton of stock in the preseason, nor should anyone. Like, it is such a crapshoot, truly. Teams don't play their stars that much. But the Toronto Raptors have genuinely impressed me. Not to the point I would pick them to finish, like, well above where they're projected, but I take the over on firstly where their win total is, and secondly, I just think they're a fun basketball team. They have compiled this concoction of forwards that are all kind of just different versions of each other. RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Colin Murray Boyles, Jonathan Mobo. Like, these guys are all playing the same position, trying to succeed in similar ways, outside of maybe Ingram, who can do some things that the others can't. But I was a little bit skeptical of that, especially when they took CMB and then subsequently fired their primary decision maker right after. But in watching this Raptors team, which I believe is undefeated through the preseason, they're really fun. They really defend under head coach Darko. They rack up steals and blocks. They are lengthy. They communicate. They just kind of play the right way, for lack of a better word. It's very Thunder-esque in terms of the way that they want to turn defense to offense. And then offensively, they're not quite as bad as I anticipated. Grady Dick is kind of coming into his own. Emmanuel quickly can do some fun things. Brandon Ingram, I've never just been a BI truther in any sense of the word, but he's a fun fit there. Again, he can just do things that a lot of players on that roster can't in terms of the jump shooting and being his size with that level of fluidity. And then kind of their ancillary pieces in CMB, who's really, really impressed through just a few games as a rookie. Jakob Poeltl continues to be a pretty solid center. RJ Barrett hasn't quite panned out NBA-wise as we thought, but is a fun piece for this team. So I'm kind of side-eyeing the Raptors as just a fun league pass team and a team that might overachieve a little bit. Again, I'm not saying they're going to go and win 50 games, but they're an interesting ball club.
Interesting little ball club, and no one in the world has more stock in Jonathan Mogbo than I do. So I like this. I like that we're in on the Raptors. We're a Raptors pod here on Lockdown Thunder Live. We'll track that like we track the Hornets and Sixers in the Eastern Conference. My stock is now into an individual player, Jalen Wells. I'm all in. I can't get enough stock in Jalen Wells. I already voted him in as a top 100 player whenever you averaged out the rest of the hosts on the Locked On Network, he did not crack the top 100 for us. But what he does defensively is special, and I think it's going to get even better this year. He was already at 0.7 stocks per game. I think that he'll clear that by a long shot. He finished third in Rookie of the Year last season. He shot 35% from three last season on 5 attempts per game. I think that he can. I think the volume is good. I think that the percentages can get even better this year for Jalen Wells. I like how versatile he is as a player, and I just think that with Memphis, they have a strange roster because individually, I like a lot of their pieces. Collectively, I don't know how effective that they can be. Collectively, I think that they have zero chance to beat the Thunder, but the Thunder are also just a terrifying matchup for them, and much like they are for most of the NBA. But I do love Jalen Wells. I think that I will no longer be alone on voting him in the top 100 by the end of this season. So I'm buying stock into him heading into this year.
I like Jalen Wells a lot. Really, really surprised me again in that 2024 draft class. My lone worry with picking a Grizzlies player like this is that I feel like they start so hot and then don't necessarily fizzle, but the shine can kind of taper off of Grizzlies players quickly, just like
the shine tapers off of Memphis in a big way in general.
Well, yeah, sure. But then they also just employ so many different players, and like they're so good at finding talent in these kind of like lesser ways. So I really like Jalen Wells. I really hope, I guess is what I'm saying, that they prioritize him. Like I hope they make him a mainstay in that roster opposed to just another one of these rotational level wings that can do a lot of things and then kind of keep this like 5-man blender of it. Like I hope they prioritize Jalen Wells because he was really, really impressive as a rookie.
He's very impressive, and I think he's only going to get better, and I want to have that stock on the cutting room floor. My last guy I'm buying stock into, and let's knock out yours guy after this one. DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton Island is decrepit. It's dilapidated. People are fleeing from DeAndre Ayton Island like there's no tomorrow. They're trying desperately to get off of the island, and I'm moving in. We're going to rebuild the island together. Pretty soon, you guys are going to want to be back in this island, and I'll be ruling it. I'll be the emperor of DeAndre Ayton Island, because I think desperation mixed with his raw talent is going to make him have the best season. And, oh yeah, he's playing alongside Luka Doncic, who, if Luka Doncic cannot maximize Ayton and his ability to run the pick and roll effectively, and also not just rolling to the rim and being a dominating force as a lob threat and as a vertical finisher, but his ability to pop and hit mid-range jumpers as well, sneakily underrated for Ayton. The motor concerns are there. The work ethic concerns are there. But this is it for him. Like, his NBA life is on the line with the Los Angeles Lakers, especially if he turns into a guy that holds this team back in any way, shape, or form. You look at Russell Westbrook's trajectory of his career. Like last year, Russell Westbrook played at a level that he should be in the NBA today right now. But even years removed from his Lakers tenure, that was a disaster for the team, not really a disaster for him individually. He was the scapegoat. He was the guy that people hated, and he was the guy that had his really perception as a player ruined. DeAndre Ayton, if Phoenix wanted you out really bad, and then Portland pays you to go away, and then you go to the Lakers on the cheap, and you're supposed to be this upgrade to Jackson Hayes, and what's holding you back from being an upgrade to Jackson Hayes? Listen, Jackson Hayes. If Jackson Hayes is still better than DeAndre Ayton for this team because he just tries harder and because he has a better motor, it's over for Ayton. It's just over. And I think that desperate times allow you, pressure makes diamonds, to become a better player. And Ayton next to Luka can look awesome. We've seen Luka raise the tides of bigs in the past and elevate them to another level of what they've typically been. And we've seen Ayton play for a winning team in the past. This team should be a winning caliber team, probably not to the extent that those Suns were to get to the finals, but to the extent of being a good team, comparatively speaking to the Suns after Chris Paul departed and the Blazers with what the Blazers have been. Listen, there's not a lot of snow in LA. He won't have to be stuck in his house. Hopefully he's no longer sleeping on an air mattress. And I think that DeAndre Ayton is going to be a good player this year.
I do not agree. He is 27 years old already. We're acting like Luka is going to unlock something in DeAndre Ayton. And while Luka is a great player and has the capability to do that, so did Chris Paul. Chris Paul has every playmaking ability that Luka Doncic had.
Pretty good with Chris Paul.
He was fine. They made the finals. They had a ridiculous roster. Ayton was not the sole driving force there. So if Chris Paul couldn't unlock like a true next gear in DeAndre Ayton, I don't think Luka Doncic is going to either. And again, it more plays into the age and the fact that like reporting around him just says he's kind of lackadaisical, I guess. So it's more of those things. I do think Luka will unlock that part of him. Like, is it going to get him back to 17 points per game opposed to 13? Sure. But is this going to be needle moving for a Los Angeles Lakers team that like really, really needs a spark plug surge? Probably not for me, yeah, but I get it. I get taking your shot.
You're buying really low, and it just takes a nice season. No one's expecting him to be an all-star and all-NBA guy, but if he has a nice season with LA, next to LeBron, next to Luka, next to Reeves, the price of this stock goes through the roof next summer. The return on investment is great, and I will have prime real estate on Ayton Island.
That's fine. That's a fine take in terms of legitimate stock. If this were a real stock, that's a good outlook. I get it. But there's also a chance with stock like this that you put your money in and it goes nowhere because
I'm buying a penny stock. I could retire off of them, or I could just say, okay, you know what? That didn't work out for me.
So the real question is how much stock you putting in, because if you're putting a little bit in and you lose a little bit, that's not a big deal. But if you're putting a large portion of your portfolio in here, then we're talking something else.
I'm putting $100 on this penny stock. Give me like 5 shares of Ayton Island, and I feel pretty good about my return on that.
Okay. I'm going to talk about a player that I was not necessarily that high on in the most recent rookie
hold
class.
on. We have our first ever technical foul on a coach. I mean, Coach Karam. If Scoot couldn't help DeAndre Ayton, nobody can.
This is not tech worthy. This is obviously
That's a sideline warning at least.
This is set in jest.
Henderson? We're talking about if Scoot Henderson can't do this and Luka can't.
You got to read the room. This has a laughing emoji.
I'm a Scoot guy. But Scoot Henderson? Are you kidding? We've got to tee up a coach here.
This isn't the one. Yes, okay, he was kidding. What? See, we're in chat. Okay. He was kidding. I knew from the second it was posted.
Coach, that's teetering on Clemente Almanza levels of trolling, and that's almost a tech. Watch your mouth, Coach. This is a sideline warning. Next word in this way, teed up. No kidding blanket can cover you now. You've already had your warning. Good troll. It got me fired up. Good troll. You succeeded in antagonizing me. But if you dare put Luka Doncic in the same sphere, in the same atmosphere, stratosphere, galaxy as Scoot Henderson, you're teed up.
Are you done?
I'm
Did
good.
You get it out of your system?
Move on to your bum in Utah.
Moving on to Ace Bailey, who so far has looked anything but a bum through 2 preseason games with the Utah Jazz. I wasn't necessarily high on Ace due to some playmaking concerns, which I still think he's looked a little better in the passing playmaking areas, but still kind of there for the most part. But man, his scoring has looked unbelievable. If you're a hoop head at all, go watch highlights from Ace Bailey's first 2 preseason games with Utah. He's putting on a shot-making clinic, dude. Like, he is hitting absolutely everything under the sun. He looks like a legitimate star. And again, it's 2 preseason games with the Utah Jazz, so there's always a chance this production tapers off in the next few preseason games or especially in the regular season. But, man, he looks good. And I think I had him probably at like 7 or 8. I don't quite remember, but definitely lower on the consensus, especially those who are high on Ace Bailey who had him 3, maybe even higher than 3. But man, he's looked really, really good. And I owe him an apology because he's been pretty stellar through 2 games. And I wasn't necessarily anticipating it.
Yeah, in all seriousness, not as a joking transition or anything else. We're back to being serious after being trolled. I'm buying stock with the expectation being lower. Like, I think he's the best Utah Jazz prospect, and that's awesome. And I think that his ceiling can be a 1B kind of player in Utah. I still think that Utah needs to find their franchise guy, which is why on top of the pick protections that they're going to be awful this year and try to win this lottery. And hopefully for their sake, get AJ Demancia and like they can just move him over from BYU into another Ryan Smith operation with the Utah Jazz. But listen, you look at their draft history in this rebuild. no one else even comes close to the excitement level I feel watching Ace Bailey play basketball. And so I love Ace Bailey. I'll buy stock into him being a part of this core. Whereas like Cody Williams and other guys on this roster, I don't know. Isaiah Collier had a nice season. I don't know that he's a part of the core when they're through with all of this, when they're done and trying to compete in the Western Conference. I feel good after the preseason, after Summer League, and with his prospect background, I feel good about Ace Bailey making it to the other side of the Utah Jazz now, trying their best to win games. And he's still there. He's still a big part of it. And he's still a productive and worthy part of it.
I feel like the Jazz have done well relative to the pick they've had. Like, it's not like the Pistons where they've had all these top 5 picks and they got a number 1. Like, they've had to grab Collier late first, Filipowski late first, Cody Williams at 11, So I think they've done okay given where they've been. Like, they haven't gone full rebuild, full repositioning just yet. They've still got Lauri Markkanen rostered last year and the years previous to that. They still had a bunch of like win now guys. So they've done fine. To your point, you're absolutely right. Ace Bailey's like the highest profile, most exciting pick of that rebuild, but it wouldn't surprise me if Collier was there for the long haul or if Keontae George ended up being a nice little 6-man piece for the long haul. And Flip seems like he's going to be primed for a really big season. So I think they've got pieces. I think they've done well with what they've had, but moving forward would be really, really nice if they could consistently land top 3 picks, which would then eventually hopefully give them that 1A that you touched on.
Coming up, who are we selling stock on? Who are we out on before the start of this season? We're also going to interact with the chat and get your questions in here as well, all coming up. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder live show with Derek Parker and myself, Rylan Stiles, Monday and Thursday.
We're just waving to the chat.
Okay, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to, of course, have the show live on YouTube, Lockdown Thunder's YouTube page at 2 p.m. Central, Monday and Thursday. We'll also upload it to the audio feed of your choice that you can listen to the replay. You can also watch the replay on YouTube if you miss anything from this live, on top of Monday through Friday, and after every single game. There's plenty of content out there for Lockdown Thunder. They've called many people, and I'm being serious about this. You head to Thunder HQ. Many people have called me a madman for putting out this much stuff, but we're going to do it anyway. And you can also check us both out at OKC Dream Team and check Derek out at his own personal YouTube channel with draft stuff at Derek-Parker. Derek, we've been very positive, and I like to be positive.
I do too. This next part's the less fun of the two.
But it's time to sell stock. It's time to determine who we're out on and who we want no part of this upcoming season. And we both have the same guy at number 1. And I think I
don't want to. You start, and I'll follow up.
I'll bite the bullet. Listen, I'm like Danny Tanner. I want to be positive a lot of the time. I want to keep things in order, but sometimes Daddy Danny and Daddy Rye has to put his foot down, get really stern, and say you're disappointed in somebody. And I think I have to sell more stock in this guy than you have to sell because I bought a lot of it. And that's Ousmane Dieng. I'm out on him. I like him as a person. I like him as a human. Truly, we have a great relationship, and I hope he succeeds. But whenever you look at this preseason, man, it's still the same issues we've talked about with him his entire career. He has that Sunday game in Charleston where for the first time in his career at any level, he puts together 48 minutes of aggression, 48 minutes of force and quality basketball. Hasn't done it since then. And they've played 3 games since then. Hasn't done it since then for Ous. And yes, Saturday he was asked to play center. Part of the benefit of Ous theoretically is his positional versatility and ability to play small ball 5. It's like he just doesn't add anything to this team. And we talked about Brooks buying stock in him. There's also just the logic of it all. Like if we're buying stock in Brooks, somebody's got to depart from this roster. He's the easiest departure for this team. The team still loves him. The team still wants him to work. Organizationally, they still believe in him as a project player who's still really, really young, and you can't have a conversation without bringing up how young he is. But the bottom line remains he hasn't done it yet, and he likely won't do it in Oklahoma City. And for those reasons, I think by the trade deadline, he'll no longer be in Oklahoma City, and hopefully for his case, hopefully for his sake, he gets traded to a bad team that'll play him. He'll get actual NBA run. He'll impress enough to want for that team to want to have him hang around for another season, and then he'll take off, and then he'll carve out a nice role for himself in the NBA elsewhere because the talent is still there. The talent is still tantalizing. You look back at Sunday. You look back at his G League success. he can still do these things, but he does not do them consistently enough to warrant a spot on this very competitive roster, on this very competitive team. I will say, while we're selling stock on him, and I'll let you talk about it yourself, while we're selling stock on him, the best thing for the Thunder is for this to work out, is for him to be a rotational contributor. Because if he becomes a rotational contributor, however unlikely that might be, if he does become that, it really, really, really helps this Thunder team have depth and have cheap depth, because he's heading into restricted free agency, and we just saw the RFA market for guys who are way more proven and honestly way more talented than Ousmane Dieng have a hard time finding a contract. If he has a great season this year, no team is going to do what they used to do in the past of just pricing out a team to get them on their roster and hurt another team. The CBA is too restricted to do that. You have to give out contracts that make sense. And the Thunder would be able to keep him on a very, 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 very team-friendly contract that helps them navigate the waters of a very expensive team. But I don't see that happening. And I used to see the pictures. I used to see the vision. I used to see what this could be for Ous. I used to be a guy to say, give him time, give him time, give him time. I'm very partial to the G League. I love the G League. I love what he does in the G League. But at some point, it's got to be more than the G League. And it has not happened yet. And this preseason has been very, I think, detrimental to his cause.
I agree with so many things that you said, especially the fact that the Thunder want this to work. And I'm also not selling my stock because I'm out on him forever. Like I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that he could end up a Washington Wizard at some point and raise his stock back to the point of being a rotational level NBA player. I'm not like that far out, but I am selling my stock somewhat after years of like really hoping it would work, because it's just still 4 preseasons deep, not panning out. Like it's tough to watch a player that you expect to get better year after year and that you expect to add things to their game year after year look like the same thing so many times in a row. And at some point, we've seen this with so many players like Poku and all of these guys, that these more project-y rebuilding ass picks that you want to pan out. At some point, it just doesn't happen. And then at that point, usually they end up wearing a different name across their chest. So again, I'm not out on Ousmane Dieng in the grand sense. I want it to work out for him. There's still a chance he could come out in the regular season and put together a consistent product. But for now, consider my stock finally sold, because again, I've been on the Ousmane Dieng train for a long time now.
I've had diamond hands with Us, but much like the game stock trend, it's kind of gone the way of the dodo bird for me with the stock category of Us. Sometimes you've got to cut your losses in the stock market. And I feel like we have to do that right now with Us. But again, we're still rooting for him. We still like him as a human. It's just not there on the court. You have another Thunder stock that you're selling. And so let's get to that before we get into some NBA stocks that we're selling.
Yeah, this next one a little different. I'm selling all of my humble approach to the Thunder season. I'm tired of prancing around the fact that this is the best roster in basketball and that they should unequivocally be the favorites to repeat, and probably really should repeat. Like if we're truly being real, a year from now, we should be talking about the Thunder's second championship. Like we can talk about these other contenders in the West. We can talk about these good East teams. The fact of the matter is that if the Thunder don't win another championship, it's just not going to be good. Like they are just the best roster. They have the best management. They draft the best. They are primed to have growth. They're primed to be a much better basketball team next year. And a few other teams have gotten good across the league, but this roster is good. And I don't want to look back in 5 years and think, man, I really pranced around the fact that this was an all-time roster. It very well could be one of the best rosters we've seen. And if they go and get it done a few more times, it's not going to surprise me. So I'm done with this humble approach to this upcoming season. We're dancing around it. We've danced around it for far too long. We danced around it last season and we shouldn't have. I'm not doing it right now.
I love this stock. I really do. And you only put buzzwords in the outline, so I didn't have this spoiled for me. I love the angle you're taking with this, because I've been someone who's tried to be very reasonable and it has succeeded at walking the line and tempering expectations last year. And up until the end of the season, I talked about Boston as like the biggest threat. And is J-Dub ready? And explaining away how okay it would be if J-Dub wasn't ready to be the number 2 option, and how much adversity that this team had to go through all last year. The bottom line is, you have to just be real. You have to be realistic. And as long as your opinions are rooted in logic, then even if you're wrong, I feel comfortable with them. And the logic is there for this being the most talented team, the deepest team who can also improve. And to check all 3 boxes is only possible with historically great teams. This is a historically great team. This is a team that we're going to look back on in many years and say, wow, they had a run. Just like we talk about the old Lakers and the Warriors and the Celtics and these teams that have massive runs in their own decades and their own time spheres. That's what's going to happen in OKC. That's what should happen in OKC. And if that doesn't happen in OKC, something's gone wrong. Something's gone horribly wrong, and we'll have to react to that at the time. But heading into this season, heading into this voyage of the next 5 years, this team should be contenders. This team should win championships. This team should be dominant. And it's why I felt so comfortable last week, and I'll say it again here, and I'll say it all season long. Regardless of what happens in the regular season from a Thunder standpoint, whether they win 70 games, 68 games, or 55 games, whatever it ends up being for them, the only team currently right now with the rosters in hand, we'll see what the trade deadline brings, but likely doesn't bring much of anything in the current NBA, except for if Nico Harrison's involved. We'll see what happens there. But the only team that logically can beat the Thunder without having to have qualifiers of injuries or having qualifiers of like, well, what if they just shoot out of their gourd for a 7-game series? What if these guys magically become a lot better for this other team and the Thunder all suck at the same time? The only team you can logically make a defense for right now that can beat the Thunder in 7 games is Denver. That's it. That's it. And even against Denver, who I fear the most, who I think can beat the Thunder, where I don't think that other teams can, even against Denver, this team's the favorite. And even against Denver, they should have home court advantage, which we saw how pivotal it was last year. So, yeah, the Thunder should be awesome, and there's no need to shy away from that. It would be a disservice, I think, to how you cover a team and how you appropriately talk about a team to shy away from that. Because you would look wrong on the other end of the spectrum, I think, if you shy away from the expectations. This team is also kind of nurtured and possessed by guys who want to be great, guys who are driven by winning more than one championship, guys who are not satisfied, and guys who have to have individual success that contribute to team success to achieve even the financial stakes. A lot of people look at the Thunder being paid this offseason. It's like, well, what are they going to do now that they've got their money? J-Dub and Chet did not get their money. They got the contract that every first rounder with a pulse gets. Like that fun extension is there for everybody, whether you win or not. And the next contract is the one that really breaks the bank, that really sets you up generationally. And to do that, Chet's going to have to get some accolades. To do that, J-Dub's going to have to continue to be who he was last year. And they're going to be driven at an individual level. They're going to be driven at a team level as guys who have their careers into perspective and have basketball into perspective and understand that when it's all said and done, when the chips are down, like it or not, we judge a lot of guys on how much that they won and how large that they won. And so from top down, this team has the mentality, the talent, the depth, and the ability to continue to climb, unlike something we've ever seen before in the modern era. And the parity era, I still think, is overrated a little bit. Yes, the past 6 champions have not made it out of the second round. There's pretty logical and explainable reasons for why that is and for why that happened to each of them. You look back at the Raptors run, the Golden State Warriors surprise title. Last year's Celtics team is the one that makes my ears perk up because I think that they should have went on another dominant run. But what happened to last year's Celtics team? It wasn't the Tatum injury that stopped them from getting out of the second round. It wasn't the CBA. It wasn't having to ship off pieces. It was because they play a style of basketball with Missoula ball and that 3-point shot that leaves itself open to volatility. They missed all their shots at the wrong time against New York and lost that series. The series was lost by the time Tatum went down. Well, how are the Thunder built? How are the Thunder made defensively? And throughout the history of basketball, the one constant is if you're a good defense, you're a good defense in the preseason, you're a good defense in the regular season, you're a good defense after the All-Star break, you're a good defense in the playoffs, you're a good defense in the finals, and you win games. And I really trust this defense, the most dependable part of basketball, and they should have a sustained success for the future in the biggest moments. So yeah, this team, there should be no reason to shy away from this team being a dominating force both this season and moving forward in this core's career.
I really like this take from Dennis Logston. Selling starting double big stock. Give me Kaysen. Hart will still get big minutes. Start Kaysen at tip. I don't hate that. I actually think a lot of the...
You're going Barry Trammell with us with the glasses on your...
I'm getting a little Trammell up in here.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I love Trammell.
Oh, of course not. Of course
he has
not.
aura. Low key, he has aura.
Not low key. It's high key aura. Yeah, I actually don't dislike that take. I think a lot of the appeal of starting Hartenstein is to kind of save Chet from those enforcers. And I know that he's dealt with these kind of strange injuries, but at some point you're just going to have to let Chet loose as well. And I think that Hart playing in that secondary rotation with Jalen Williams, who he can play make for, set some really nice screens for, create offense for, as well as letting Chet play his true position, the 5 in the starting lineup with another perimeter guard in Kaysen stepping into that role. Not a bad look most of the season. Now, situationally, you can, of course, go double big or vice versa, whatever they go with, because, again, the Thunder team has so much optionality. But, yeah, not a bad take there. My next one, I'm selling stock in the Los Angeles Lakers, which directly affects Rylan's buying of the DeAndre Ayton stock. But I look at this Lakers roster, and it's just not doing it for me. It's not built around either of their stars right now in Luka or LeBron, nor should it be, given that they just acquired Luka last season. I'm not faulting them for it. They've done the best with what they can in getting Ayton and getting some of these other pieces, but I just don't think it's built to last. And I think eventually, probably as early as next season, or at minimum the season after that, they're going to have to start building around Luka Doncic specifically. They're going to have to go get him some similar lob threats that he had in Dallas. They're going to have to go get him real proven shooters that he can thrive with. They're going to have to get him a co-star that is not named LeBron James that can really thrive with Luka opposed to just around Luka, which I think LeBron is doing now. So just not buying the Lakers this year. And I don't know what that's probably different for everybody. Like there's probably Lakers media that thinks they're going to be the 4 seed. There's also probably Lakers media that thinks they're going to be a play-in team. So I'm certainly not buying Lakers stock, and I'm going to go ahead and sell the little bit that I already had.
Yeah, so I've fallen for the Lakers. I've fallen for this offseason. I'm obviously an Ayton guy, so that goes hand in hand with the Lakers stock. I also think that Marcus Smart will have his best three-point shooting season next to Luka. I also think that we're talking about LeBron in tones of his age versus his production. LeBron was a rightful All-NBA player last year. He was rightfully on the team. It wasn't an honorary award. It wasn't just okay, no one else played enough games, so let's just put LeBron on there as a thank you to LeBron's career. He was legitimately All-NBA good. And I don't know if he'll be All-NBA good again, but I also don't think that the decline will be so steep that he's not even in conversations for All-NBA this season. I think that he'll still be hovering around that caliber of player. I think that Austin Reeves is a caliber of an all-star. I think that Luka Doncic is a caliber of an all-time great. I think that Marcus Smart will have a big year. I like the addition of Jake LaRavia. I like what they have in Vanderbilt. I like what they have in Rui Hachimura, and I have bought into DeAndre Ayton. I also think that JJ Redick's a good coach, and he'll prove that again this season with another go-around. So I'm in on the Lakers relative to the rest of the West. But again, I mean, we talk about the West as like this very daunting task, and for most teams it is. For Oklahoma City, I still believe that the only team that can beat them is Denver. Now, how will this look different for the Thunder because of the tough West? I don't think that they're going to sweep any opponent. In the last 2 postseasons, they've swept their first round matchup. I would not predict a sweep for the first round of whoever makes it out of the play-in to be the 8th seed this year for OKC. And I also think that throughout the playoff run, Minnesota only took 1 game from them. I think that the Western Conference Finals matchup will take more than 1 game. I think that the Denver series will go long again. But I still think that when the chips are down, the NBA postseason is designed in which you don't have upsets a lot of the time. It's why that we can distinctly remember every upset that's ever happened in the NBA playoffs, because the 7-game format just does not lend itself to the worst team winning. And the Thunder are going to be better than any other team. But I am buying stock in the LA Lakers. So we've knocked out 3 of your 5. Let's knock through some of mine real quick.
Can I put you on the spot real quick?
Go ahead. Put me on the spot.
When you say you're in on the Lakers, what does that actually look like? Like, let's say the Luka and Ayton pairing, like Ayton really does get back to maybe that like Suns finals level thing. Let's say that there is no LeBron decline, which I don't think happens either. I'm just saying it's not a perfect roster. I don't think LeBron's going to go and like get bad. I just think him and Luka isn't the greatest pairing. So like, what does a successful Lakers season look like?
Good question. I think that a successful Lakers season is they avoid the play-in. Like they're a top 6 team in the West, which will be difficult because of how difficult the West is, and they win a playoff series. And so I think that that's what's going to happen for this Lakers team. We'll see if that's true or not true. But I'm buying to that extent. I'm not buying them as a contender. I'm not buying them as a team that can truly threaten for the grand prize. But they can be good. They can be good in this Western Conference. So credit to the Lakers for me. We'll have to track that along with our Sixers Hornets bet the rest of the season. Rapid fire through some of mine. The Kings. I'm out on the Kings. Sabonis always raises the tide of a team. They are terrible. They're a bad roster. They're a bad coach team. They are a bad organization. They're not going to make the play-in. Quit putting them in this hovering range. They're going to be very, very bad, I think, this season, the old Sacramento Kings. So I'm out on them. I'm out on the regular season success of Sabonis. I think Sabonis is a little bit overrated individually. I'm out on the Kings. Just out.
Okay.
The Brooklyn Nets. I want 0% Nets stock. The only thing I like about the Brooklyn Nets is their coach. I hate everything else the Nets have done. The Nets put together a draft class 5 deep, and I think that all of them suck. I think that all of them are terrible players that should not be in the NBA and will not last in the NBA by the time that their careers play out. I don't even want you to give me a reduced penny stock on the Nets. If you offer me the Nets, and all I gotta put in is an Abe Lincoln penny if he's still on the penny anyway. I don't even know if he is on the penny. But if all I gotta do is hand you a penny and you tell me I get 1 share of the Nets, I don't want it. I'll save the penny. The 1 cent is worth more to me than the Brooklyn Nets organizationally, than the Brooklyn Nets roster, and I just like their coach.
It's just absolutely wild to me that you're saying this, given that they beat your Phoenix Suns mere days ago. But continue.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations on your preseason win. Yeah, Danny Wolf's really going to help you. I'm shocked that they won a preseason game. They're terrible. They're just a god-awful team. And Jordy might help them win more games than they should in a terrible East. But when the chips are down and you look at their roster, they all are terrible. And they don't have many true NBA players.
I'll say one thing about the Nets. You're going to eat those words on those rookies. I'm not saying the Nets are going to be a good basketball team, but
my God.
What
does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, for one, you said they shouldn't be NBA players, and that is absurd because all 5 of those dudes are going to be in the league in 10 years.
All 5 of them?
Yes.
In 10 years?
Yes.
Give me a break.
All right.
10 years?
I'll talk to you in 10 years, dude.
They're still going to be NBA. Danny Wolf is in this league in 10 years.
Danny Wolf has had a couple nice preseason performances, dude.
Okay, yeah.
He's looked
Guess
solid.
what? Moses Brown had a couple nice NBA games. He had a 2020 game. Jalen Horde had a 2020 game.
But you also coupled these nice preseason performances with the fact that they were first-round picks for a reason.
Yeah, because a
lot of these guys were going first round regardless. They just all happen to end up on Brooklyn.
So what's Dimmon's ceiling?
I mean, a starter. A good starter in this league, a positive, impactful player. Yeah. You said out of the NBA. You're throwing it around on me. You said they're not going to be in the NBA. That's absurd.
I would put $100 that in 10 years from now, Dimmon not in the NBA.
Okay. In 10 years, you're going to run me my money, dude. He could average 0 points for the next 9 years and still be in the NBA on promise alone because he's 6'8" and he can do everything. Ousmane Dieng's 5 years in, buddy. I don't know what we're saying here.
You know who their best? You think Us is going to last 10?
He's halfway there, and Demon's every bit the player, quite a bit more.
Sure. You know to put in perspective how this roster is of guys under 25. The guy I like the most is Drake Powell on this roster. I love Drake Powell. That's it. That's their roster to me.
That's just wild. You like the guy that averaged 6 points per game in college over the others. Just insane.
He has an NBA skill. He's an NBA level cutter, NBA level defender. The rest of the guys,
I could say that about any skill for any player. Nolan Traore has NBA level speed and passing. Danny Wolf has NBA level fluidity for a big guy. You're just throwing things out.
Demon's bad. He's just bad. I'm gonna say LaMelo Ball. I'm out on him. I'm out on him.
Okay, we can agree.
I'm out on him being a basketball star. Now, hear me, basketball star. Is he still a popular player? Yes. Will he always be a part of the NBA's ecosystem? Yes. Do young fans love LaMelo Ball? Yes. But in terms of a guy who can help a team win and can provide you a player whom you want to say, okay, we're trying to make the playoffs. And you know who I want to go get? LaMelo Ball. I'm out. He's not a good player in that regard.
Yeah, totally fine with that.
Now,
watching him hurts me greatly.
That brings us to our final 2 for you, 1 for me. Who is your 9th guy here?
Number 9, my 4th selling would be Rob Dillingham. The only reason I'm selling any Rob Dillingham stock is because I owned so much at the draft, the 24 draft. Again, I think I had him 3rd on my board, which in hindsight was pretty high. One thing I think, before I get into the bad stuff, is I think I nailed his passing ability. I don't think a lot of people were looking at him as a true point guard, rather like a spark plug scorer at the 2. And I think his passing has really, really been good. Like, that is a legitimate NBA skill. If they rolled him out at point guard full time, he could average 7, 8, maybe even 9 assists. Like, truly, if they ran the offense through him. Now, everything else is rough. He's just too small. The scoring hasn't come around because of that. He's pretty dainty as far as lead guards go. That trickles down to defense pretty bad. So he hasn't broken out the way I thought he would in Minnesota. I really think they need a player like him, but hasn't worked out. And the fact that he wasn't phenomenal in summer league and hasn't taken any steps in preseason, I'm selling a little bit, but not all of my Rob Dillingham stock.
Yeah, I'm out on Rob Dillingham, so I like this stock. I would sell all but 1 share of Rob Dillingham. Just hedge on 1 share of him, but I'm comfortable moving on from a lot of Rob Dillingham. My last one, before we get to your last one, I'm out on Ref Discourse. I'm selling every bit of stock I have in Ref Discourse. I'm tired of it. I think it's stupid. I think it doesn't lead to anything productive in multiple ways. If you think that Shea is only good because he's the free throw line, you're a moron. You don't know what you're talking about. And okay, fine. He's only good because he's the free throw line. Fine, whatever. Who cares? Your opinion of that does not change what the reality is. And Jokic just talked about this. A lot of teams in camps have talked about this. Well, we're just going to force the refs to make a call. We're just going to foul more and try to get away with more like the Thunder do. Hey, guess what? The Thunder got called for more fouls than anybody, and they were able to work around that. And yes, they were able to be more physical because they were comfortable eating fouls. And you know why they could eat fouls? Because they had a ton of depth and they could manage their fouls in a massive way that other teams cannot duplicate. So I welcome anyone, Denver and anyone else, to try to play this hard-nosed, athletic, gritty, physical style of defense. You don't have the guys capable of doing it. And if you do get into foul trouble because you're trying to prove a point, guess what? That helps your opposition in a massive way, likely helps the Thunder in a massive way. So I welcome you to do that. And the complaining about refs is the most loser behavior of all time, because you're never going to change a ref's mind. If you get a ref to change a call, you can sell beachfront property in Kansas. A ref's never going to change the call of whatever they decide to do. And there's going to be ref discourse all year, because I think that, like every other year, they're going to start out targeting one thing, whether it's, and I made this point after Thursday. I could see a world in which from now until December, Shea's little push off that he does gets called at an alarming rate. But guess what? The refs will revert back to not calling it whenever it comes to the stretch run of the season and the postseason. It's the same thing that they did whenever people were mad about James Harden baiting fouls. It's the same thing that they've done whenever they were mad about Trae Young. And they call it really strenuous for the first few months of the season whenever they view the games as not important. When they view the games as important, they swallow the whistle and they don't call it. So what is the ref discourse really going to get us? Nothing. There's no point to have that conversation. The Thunder last year couldn't buy a free throw for the season. They had a historically low free throw rate, and they still won a championship. So it goes both ways. The Thunder complaining about fouls, the other teams complaining about fouls. Who's this for? What is this achieving? Nothing.
My last one is the Miami Heat. I'm selling stock in the Heat after years, decades really, of giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think they've finally moved to the point where I just don't like their roster. I don't like the moves they've made. The only thing I really like is the draft pick they made in getting Kasparas Jakučionis somewhere in the 20s. I think that was a really good pick relative to where they got him. But, I mean, Wiggins, Norm Powell, Bam, I think a lot of these players are plateauing. Khalil Ware gives them some sort of hope, but I just don't know that I like the play style enough or like the habits he's built. Again, they've seen some plateauing across the rest of their guys, Jovic, Jaquez. So I don't know, maybe they win some games in the East, but should they even do that? Like, wouldn't a top draft pick look so much better? Or maybe even offloading some of these guys to go get future assets? Like, I just don't. I finally reached the point of no return with the Miami Heat where I'm like, it's obvious this isn't going to work long term. The moves they have made have left them with probably my least favorite roster in a handful of years. So I'm selling my Heat stock, despite them having the best coach in the NBA, a good run, well-run organization. I'm out for now.
I like that. We're going to go to the chat first before we do our technical fouls. Coach Dennis says, I'm selling on unfrosted brown sugar Pop-Tarts. Wholeheartedly agree.
Amen.
Andrew Schlecht, who's going to be on the show later this week, he's all in on them. That's his number one Pop-Tart, and that's ridiculous. That's ludicrous. That's the only bad take Andrew Schlecht's ever had. That's just plumb outright egregious from Andrew Schlecht there. So I agree with you to sell stock in that cardboard Pop-Tart that you should not be indulging yourself in. If you're going to have a Pop-Tart, don't go half pregnant. Just go ahead and get the frosted. Go ahead and actually have it taste good. There also is some other stock here for Chris Youngblood. First of all, Coach Saucy, this is crazy. Youngblood's celebration will be him biting his arm and going crazy for blood. That's crazy. That is wild. But Coach Dennis also asked, what's the path for Youngblood to get a standard deal this year? Given the fact that Barnhizer also is converted, there's not a real path to open up another roster spot on this year's team for anyone but one conversion. And there's a chance that it's not even Brooks Barnhizer who gets converted, like knock on wood. Hopefully this doesn't happen, but if a big man goes down and they view the depth that the big man spot is more important, they could convert Carlson and have him postseason eligible. Brooks Barnhizer, of course, is an option for this deal as well, but Chris Youngblood has a more difficult path to get to that point. However, I'm all in on Chris Youngblood, and if you listen to the show throughout this preseason, you know that, as Saucy also says, Youngblood will end the season. Will be a gatekeeper of the top 10 of the Thunder roster. No, I don't think that's going to happen whatsoever. But I do think he's going to be a good little player for this team, especially in the G League and for helping this team develop. And at the end of games, especially like whenever they throw him in there to steal away possessions as a 3-point shooter and help this team move. Look, the benefit of Chris Youngblood is I think he's at worst the second best 3-point shooter on this team when it comes to pure talent, when it comes to shooting off movement and just getting a shot off quickly. So that he has that going for him. But this is a very, very talented roster, very deep roster that the minutes are few and far between for these guys. So Chris Youngblood, as much as I like him, it is largely about developing. It's largely about, hey, you have a guy in the G League who's going to be an awesome shooter, an awesome floor spacer, and a guy who understands your system. When you send guys like Barnhizer, when you send guys like Topic down there, you're going to be able to utilize him as a guy who helps you get a true evaluation point on to those players who you really want to look at. And Youngblood should have the third two-way spot. That should grant him some minutes, a la Adam Flagler, a la to an extent Lindy Waters. But these things are going to be very hard for him to overcome when it comes to him playing long-term and with a true path in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
I want to see him on that third two-way deal. That's who I would go out and sign if I was Oklahoma City and if I was Sam Presti. We have our technical foul segment, and you have a good one, Derek. Who are you handing out a technical foul to today?
I've got an AP article pulled up. Love the AP. Give him a sub.
Shout out Cliff Brent. Cliff.
This T goes out to Goncalo Oliveira.
That's a technical foul.
This is the headline. Tennis player who said a kiss caused his positive methamphetamine test gets a 4-year suspension. A professional tennis player who said a kiss caused a positive meth drug test was suspended for 4 years by the International Tennis Integrity Agency on Friday. I guess he was getting a little too wacky. Tested positive, both the A and B samples per the article, and then blamed his positive meth test on a smooch, which, if that's not technical foul worthy, I don't know what is.
That's a technical foul.
That's ludicrous. There's been a lot of like, oh, I got popped for PEDs or popped for whatever. And it's like, oh, my chef snuck this into my food on accident. It was a complete mix-up with what was happening in my diet. Oh, I didn't realize that was on the banned substance list. There's been a lot of failed bad excuses for stuff like this. A kiss transmitting meth is the worst of them all. That's awful. That you need to go back to the drawing board. Whomever told you that was the alibi you should have gone with is crazy. That's wild. My technical foul goes to one Brent Venables.
That's a technical foul.
Talking about selling stock, I'm out on Brent Venables. He's not the guy. He's never going to be the guy. Brent Venables for Oklahoma, and I'm not even an OU fan, but as someone who cares deeply about this state, and those of you in the chat who are largely OU fans, he's terrible. I mean, fine. He's a nice little rah-rah guy. I mean, he can really give you an invigorated speech, and his defense is pretty good because you know what? He's the best defensive coordinator in college football. That's awesome. It doesn't win games. It doesn't win games. And in the modern era, we're acting like, but he's only in year 5. He's only going to be in year 6. Give him time. Give him time. Guess who didn't have time? Kirk Cignetti at Indiana. At Indiana, the Hoosiers. And in year 2, he's going to go 2 for 2 of making the playoffs. And this modern era with NIL, with the transfer portal, with being able to reshape your roster, retool your roster at a moment's notice. You should not have this terrible of an offensive line. You should not have this terrible of a tight end position. You should not have this terrible of a running back spot. You should not be in the position that they're in right now after going and getting Ben Arbuckle, after going and getting John Mateer. And they should not go 2 straight years without scoring a touchdown on Texas. I'm not even saying beating Texas. Texas has been really good the last 2 years, but you can't score a touchdown against Texas. I've seen terrible college football. My favorite team in the world, the team that I care mostly about in all of sports, lost to Georgia State at home in college football, the Tennessee Volunteers. Jeremy Pruitt, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones. They scored touchdowns, though. They got a touchdown. They got beat by Bama for 15 years. They scored a touchdown. You couldn't score a touchdown? 3 of the last 4 years, you couldn't score a touchdown against Texas. It's embarrassing to this city. It's embarrassing to this state. He's a nice guy. But guess what? Nice guys don't mean you're going to win championships. I wanted Brent Venables to work. It's not going to work, man. It's just not. He doesn't have it in him. He doesn't have the ability to be a positive coach. They might rip off 9-3, and that would be a miracle. He cannot get Oklahoma to what Oklahoma should be. And if Oklahoma falls content to just having a nice guy pacing the sidelines, and perhaps every 6 years you can rattle off 9 wins, okay, then that's your program now, and that's a very slippery slope. It's a very bad slope, but this was terrible. It was a bad hire at the time. It was a panic hire at the time to try to show you that, like, hey, Lincoln Riley doesn't want us, but at least somebody does. At least somebody loves us. At least somebody gets the program. It's Oklahoma, dude. Like, yeah, Lincoln Riley didn't want to be in the SEC, didn't want to be your coach anymore. A billion other candidates want to be your coach, and you're sticking with this guy who has had no success as a head coach, who's a failed head coach, who's only a defensive coordinator, and who consistently puts you in a bad spot. And that's the biggest thing of why he's not the guy. It's not even necessarily what he does as a game manager on the sidelines. It's that you're in year 5, dude, and your offensive line is that of Eisenhower High School. Your offensive line is terrible. And you have this legendary offensive line coach, Bill Bedenbaugh, and so many guys in the NFL. Well, why isn't Brent Venables getting guys who can actually play? Your tight end room is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You have a converted linebacker who has all the heart and moxie and grit in the world, and that's fine. I love the story of a Jarrett Knecht. But guess what? It's Oklahoma. The Sooners should not be relying on a guy who has a lot of grit. He has a lot of heart, Derek. He tries really hard, and he wants to be good here, and he cares about the program. They should be having guys who can play. DeMarco Murray is a guy who is a legend at OU as a player. Failed running back coach. Like, it sucks in Oklahoma right now. It sucks for the Sooners. And I do not want to let them see what Tennessee saw. A decade of despair, a decade of dysfunction, a decade of just being outright dominated by anyone with a pulse. And with a new AD in town coming up, and with this coaching hire, you're running that risk, and it happens quickly. People are not old enough to remember Tennessee being a dominating force. Nobody would have predicted after the first bad hire of Lane Kiffin that this would have went down the way that it did for the last decade. And they just now have gotten to a point of stability with Josh Heupel. Don't let that happen to Oklahoma. It's time. It's time to tee him up. It's time to send him on his way and say, thank you for your service, both as a DC, your first tenure here, and being a great person here. You're not the guy.
I fundamentally disagree, but I don't know if we have time to get into it.
Brent Venables guy still?
I mean, what are you going to do? A week ago, people were singing his praises because they were the number 5 team in the country. They suffer one loss to a pretty good football team, and I'm supposed to throw it out the window? You're hammering the offense, but saying that the OC was a good hire. Is that not on the OC to go get a touchdown? What do you want, Brent Venables to go score that? He's got the best defense in the country.
Brent Venables has built this roster, and
he's got to iron out a few things offensively. He's got to iron out the tight end room, the O-line, like he did with the offense this year. Yeah. It's a better offense this year than it was last year. He needs more time. This is also operating under the assumption that you can just go get some absolute monster head coach anytime you want. It's not the case. It has never been the case in college football. Alabama's seeing that right now. Alabama's seeing that right now. They do not have the guy. Okay. That guy's not going to be the guy.
Okay, Alabama is seeing that right now. They went from a legend of Nick Saban to Kellen DeBoer, who missed the playoffs last year by a game and who is in line to make the playoffs this season. As much as I want Tennessee to win Saturday, I don't trust them to go into Tuscaloosa and win. And Josh Heupel's first ever big road game win in Tuscaloosa, in any venue, honestly. He can't win on the road to save his life. But it's like, this is Oklahoma. You should be able to get this right. And they beat up on a lot of bad teams, man. Like the everything before Texas week, they've been terrible.
That's so not true. They beat Michigan and Auburn. Those are great programs. Those are good wins for Brent Venables.
They're pretty bad teams. They're pretty bad teams.
I guess it's just unbelievable that you're saying Tennessee has stability under Heupel right now, but Brent Venables is just get him out. Like they're absolutely in the same tier.
Hold on. Tennessee has stability. They're not going to be back to a championship level team, but after a decade of being the worst team imaginable, yeah, it's nice to have Josh Heupel in town who wins 9-10 games a year and gets you to the postseason. That'd be a wet dream for Brent Venables to have that happen for his program. And I don't think that Josh Heupel...
It's going to happen this year.
I don't think that Josh Heupel is going to win a championship at Tennessee. I don't think he's that caliber of coach, but you'll rest after 10 years of being of delinquency into being a nice little program at Tennessee right now. But Brent Venables... I'm out on him. I think that this thing can go south and will go south in a very quick hurry. I would not put them down as a win or a favorite the rest of the way for what their schedule holds for them in this gauntlet that they're about to run. But we'll see. Listen, I'm out
If anyone knows mediocre coaching, it's you, buddy. So.
I'm telling you, I'm well-versed in this. I'm well-versed in college football being a mediocre program or worse. And OU is trending down a bad path.
If you can give me one name that should be the next Oklahoma head football coach, then I'll agree with you.
Oh, there's guys that would line up to take
I'm not saying that there are people in line up. I'm saying who would right the ship and get OU football back to what you think it should be. Because there's not a name. There's not one that works. It's not out there.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Now, it would also come down to like, who would have thought that Lincoln Riley takes the USC job, for example, at that time? What if Dan Lanning could jump ship? I don't think that he would, but what if he would? And then, that's a good point, but it's not as though Brent Venables' success has been unprecedented, that you couldn't hire somebody to do what he's done over the last 5 years with one lucky season that they were good in that season in the Big 12. So that's where I'm at with OU. I want it to still work. I'm still rooting for Brent Venables. I still am hoping that whenever you look at this season, at the end of it, OU's a 9-3 ball club or better. But man, that was a huge blow to what they are. And it's just embarrassing where OU has been recently. Hopefully they can turn this around. Derek, Lockdown Thunder Live, 2 p.m. Central Time, Mondays and Thursdays here on Lockdown Thunder.
Throw up that Dennis comment before we get out of here.
Coach Dennis. Derek can call any tech he wants to. Derek, what tech do you want to call?
Nothing yet. I'll come up with more Thursday.
Okay. Well, Derek has the right to the button as well. And Derek can always stop the proceedings. Derek's teed me up before on this show. I've teed up Derek.
CP was crazy, dude. That was crazy.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was a crazy comment. And you know what? You never know what we're going to get into in the future. But thank you so much for joining us on Lockdown Thunder Live. Again, Thursday, 2 p.m. Central, our biggest storylines to watch for this season. Monday, 2 p.m. Central on Lockdown Thunder. We're doing it all. We're letting it all hang out. We're going to have our full standings predictions. We're going to have our full playoff predictions. We're going to have our full awards predictions. It's going to be a big show. There's not going to be a lot of side tangents about OU football. There's going to be none actually next Monday. So make sure that you tune in to this coming up. But Derek, thanks again for being here on your own show. I don't know why I do that every time. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.